Okay, well, let me just double check. A big welcome back. Stop recording, so this means that it is recording. Fabulous. So we are going to be cracking straight on with our second part of week one's Route 66. So we got up to neuroplasticity. So what is neuroplasticity? You can see on the screen here, neuroplasticity is the change in neural pathways and synapses that occurs due to certain factors such as environment, behavior, or neural processes. The brain changes in synaptic pruning. I'm going to share a little bit more about this. And deleting the neural connections that are no longer necessary or useful and strengthens the necessary ones. So if I was to summarize this, what it means is our brains are basically like plastic or Play-Doh. And the more that we change our behaviors, our environment, and habits, the more our neuroplasticity basically begins to change and enables us to form new habits. So if we imagine that our synapses are holding on to each other each time that we form a new habit, and every time we start to form a different habit, over time, it's called synaptic pruning. Our brain actually will begin to prune away and break old connections to make room for new ones. Does this make sense? So like my nana would literally say, I'm going to go and prune the garden. And that would mean she's going to go and dig up all the weeds. This always helps me remember how powerful neuroplasticity is, because it knows what we're not really using. So when it comes to forming a new habit, if you're focusing on something new and not focusing on an old habit, over time, your brain will actually synaptically prune it away and focus on strengthening the necessary ones, which would be the new ones. How freaking amazing is that? So that in itself, neuroplasticity, you have, I have, we all have, and it's something that supports our change system, basically. The next thing that I am going to be moving on to is the cycle of learning and the reticular activating system. So those of you that have done NLP, or you may have even done this before in different situations, but I'm just going to show you now what the cycle of learning is. So unconscious incompetence or incompetent. Up at the top right corner, you can see number 1. What that means is you don't know what you don't know. So when you first looked at this course, you may have looked and thought, neuroplasticity, I've never even heard of that. That would be all the things in the brain that you aren't even aware that you don't know. Does that make sense? So then the next stage of it is conscious incompetence. That's, you know what you don't know. So then when you were sent over the introduction thing, the PDF, you would have looked through and gone, okay, so we're going to be learning about the neuroscience, the neuroplasticity, the automaticity. I've never heard of those before. Now you're aware of what you don't know. For instance, not saying that you don't, but just using that as an example. Then conscious competence. You now know what you know. So you now are aware of the ins and outs of the automaticity, of the neuroplasticity, and then the unconscious competence is what you know is second nature, where you don't even have to think about it. You just naturally put these things into action. A great example is driving a car. So when you first look at a car, you have no idea how it works, what a clutch is, what a gear is. That's unconscious incompetence. Then as you make your way through the learning cycle, it gets a bit awkward. You have to really think about changing gear, checking the mirror, and everything feels really roboty. Then you get to the point where it's unconscious competence. And that's a bit like the highway hypnosis thing, because you just do it and it's completely unconscious, basically. So the more that we practice our habits, this can literally be implemented into a habitual system. So your new habits that you're going to be doing as we unroll in the next 10 weeks, they are currently unconscious incompetence because you don't know them. Then as we make our way through, we understand this learning cycle. When we get to the conscious competence, it becomes a bit awkward. It becomes that thing where we know it, but we have to think about it. But if we push through this, we've got to push through this. And that's where you become the unconscious competence. And now we're just going to have a look at the reticular activating system. I call it your RAS. If I'm feeling fancy, the razzle dazzle. But your RAS basically takes what you focus on and creates a filter for it. It actually sits at the very top of your cervical spine. And what if you were to imagine that it's basically a gatekeeper into your brain, and it allows things to come in and out, what it believes is important to you. So it basically shifts through the different data that you see. You see thousands and thousands of pieces of data at any given minute. So it from sounds, light, information, exposure, smells, taste. And if our brain was to just take all of that on, we would literally have what like a meltdown. Our brain would not be able to take it. So what the RAS does, what the reticular activating system does, is it focuses on what's important to you and highlights that to you, okay? And when we say it knows what's important to you, how it learns what's important to you is by what you focus on, what you say to yourself, what you're thinking. So that's why those people, and I know I've certainly been guilty of this in the past, that's why if we focus on all the reasons why we're stupid, why we shouldn't have done what we've done, why no one loves me, why I'm not enough, why I can't lose weight. This was something I was so stuck in. I just can't stop eating. I'm such a pig. Something like that. I don't know. I'm just using a funny example. And if I was to say that to myself, what's my brain going to constantly think? I can't stop eating. Okay. So my reticular activating system, the more I think that and say that, is literally going to be focusing like a computer software program that, okay, food is very important and can't stop eating, so don't stop eating. We're literally programming our mind with what we focus on. So before we know it, there's food everywhere, there's adverts on, we're looking in the fridge, food, and we literally, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So all of this happens without you noticing. Can you imagine if we had to actually process this stuff consciously? This is all happening subconsciously. The RAS programs itself to work in your favor without you actively having to do anything, which is pretty awesome, right? But if we are training our RAS to work for us, not just on an automatic program. So the RAS actually seeks information as well that validates your beliefs. So this is why our belief system and our values are so fundamentally important. If we do not know what our values are, which is coming next week, if we do not know what our beliefs are, and it just goes round and around, our RAS is going to be bringing into our focus, our awareness, what feels like the law of attraction, constantly giving us evidence of what we perceive to be true. So that's why what you believe to be true is true for you. I remember hearing that saying a few years ago and it taking me, honestly, ages for the penny to drop. I'm like, well, no, it doesn't work like that, surely. But yes, what you perceive to be true to you is true to you. That's why people that believe in particular religions, it's true to them. They will see and feel and experience things that align to that. Their RAS is trained for that. If I believe and perceive the world to be an awful, war-ridden place, and I am at mercy to people, and my relationship is a war, and then guess what? I'm going to experience pain. I'm going to feel like I'm constantly in a battle. So all of this stuff is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The same works in a positive light. So now we're going to bring it on. We're basically going to demystify the law of attraction, because we all perceive the law of attraction to be this magical thing that only a certain few that train in the law of attraction. No, the law of attraction is like the law of gravity. It is working constantly right now. Right now you are sat in the law of attraction. Are you tapped in to the law of attraction working on your behalf? Whole other thing. So if we see that if you were to get real clear on the habits that support your success and happiness, the goals that you want to achieve, what your future self looks like, what your values are, what your beliefs are, what we're doing is training that Raz, that gatekeeper, to look for those things that support this. Yeah? And so what sometimes feels like, if you keep focusing on this particular job, you're writing it down every day, how that feels to have this new job or a new partner. And we're constantly absorbing all of this goodness into our body and picturing this. This is why people can use this as a law of attraction. And when I do this, it's a real thing. I'm not saying that it's not real when I do that. I'm saying like we can use this like fact and bring that into your life by training this. So I'm hoping that that makes sense. We are going to be doing more on the reticular activating system. But if we focus hard on our goals, your Raz will reveal the people, information, and opportunities that will help you to achieve them. Ta-da! So this is something that we're massively going to be touching on. Okay. Let's move on now. We're going to be opening up your workbook to this page. Now, this is called your Warrior Wheel of Life, your Warrior Wheel of Life. And what we're going to be doing now, so we're basically going to be looking, I'm just going to call it homework, but this is what you're going to be doing over the next week. Ideally, soon as you've watched this back on replay, or what you're watching this now, you've finished, I'm going to recommend that you do this as soon as possible while it's fresh in your mind. But just like the Wheel of Life, we are going to number each area on a scale of 1 to 10, or 1 being not satisfied, 10 being very satisfied, okay? And so the reason that we've sort of changed this a little bit to the Warrior Wheel of Life is the usual Wheel of Life has 8 sections. We wanted to have contribution and spiritual health. I personally believe one of the greatest things to help people overcome anxiety and depression and illnesses and all of this chaos that goes on in our minds is by contributing and working on spiritual health. Pauline shared something that those that work on their spiritual health, there was a statistic that she shared that it dramatically improves your mental health and well-being. The recovery center where I work, one of the biggest things that helps with their recovery, which, let's be honest, yes, it's recovering alcoholics, drug addicts, they've fallen into the habit loop. So the same thing, those that are in a bad habit about something and it feels impossible to break, they are in the exact same situation, only they've unfortunately fallen into drugs and alcohol. The exact same principle applies when it comes to habits. And the biggest thing that helps them to change is contribution, is them going out into society and working for charities, going out and helping the elderly, doing pancake races and raising money. That is the biggest thing that they say is the biggest give back. And spiritual health. I go in weekly and work on their spiritual health. So I'm going to definitely be working on this with you guys for the next 10 weeks. But what I'm going to invite you to do, not right now, but number them 1 to 10. So once you have done that 1 to 10, the next section, if you move on to the next piece, I can work you through it. I'm just going to share with you what you're going to be doing. I'm then going to invite you to put your top 5 segments in order of importance to you below. And when I say your top 5, I mean the top 5 that you want to work on, not the ones that are most important. So say you've put down 10 for family, and that is your most important. I'm not going to suggest that you write this down here. If you've put down spiritual health as a 2, and you would really feel that you would benefit from working on that, write that down. So put your top 5 segments in order of importance to you. So these are going to be the 5 that take your focus, if that makes sense. Any questions, feel free to share. And then I'm going to invite you, once you've put down your top 5 importance that you want to work on, we're then going to just take the top 3 that you've written down, and I want you to think and write down, what would a 10 look like in that number 1 area of your life? So let's take, for instance, you've written down health as your number 1 priority, because right now it's a 3. Let's take, for instance, it doesn't just have to be the lowest numbers, guys, but just if that works for you, remember there is no right and wrong with this. I cannot stress that enough. No right and wrong. Make this your own. But if your number 1 is health that you want to work on, what would a 10 look like to you? Then I want you to carry on moving through and think the number 2 area, what would a 10 look like for you? What would it look like? What would it feel like? And then number 3, what would a 10 look like and feel like for you? Because if you are currently, I don't know, a 5 or a 6 or whatever they are, we need to know, because you're very crystal clear on what that feels like, why you're living it right now. So in order to be able to bridge the gap, we need to know what that future vision looks like. Then we can help you to get from where you are to where you want to be, or at least have that clear vision. Because bridging the gap is all underpinned by habits and rituals. It isn't just a case of let's achieve a goal, go, go, go. This is where so many people trip up. The goals are underpinned by daily habits to make this a lifestyle. We don't want a quick fix. We want this to be a lifestyle. Next page. What is stopping you from living these areas of your life at a level 10 now? And I want you to be honest with yourself. What is stopping you? This might be you. It might be your mindset. It might be your family. It might be limiting beliefs, confidence. It might be excuses. They might be complete BS excuses. And then I want you to think, what else is stopping you? What we tend to have here is the first what's stopping you is your conscious thoughts. When you get the permission to think what else is stopping you, you've got to go to a deeper level. I want you, with no judgment, to write down as many reasons why you are not living at those level 10 areas now. See what comes up for you. And the key thing here, like I said, is there's no right and wrong. If it feels like it's an excuse, write it down anyway. If it feels like it's the truth for you, write it down anyway. As many different things as you can. You want to be calling out those things that come up for you. Now then, the last 2 pieces. You're now going to take time to write, draw, or create what happiness looks like and feels like to you. Now, this could be a picture. It could be a graph. It could be a story. It could be purely scribbles. I want you to really just brain dump down what happiness looks like and feels like to you. And you're going to do the exact same thing for success. Because the reason why we're doing this is, yes, we could have just sat here and said, okay, let's form a new habit. 66 days. I want to quit smoking. I want to start exercising. I want to drink more water. I want to be kinder to my spouse. Like, we could totally do that. I could have taken the same money. We could have done that. And you know what? I would have helped you get those results. Guaranteed. But there's a huge but, and it's not just mine. What we want to do is get to the root of what happiness and success is to you, so you can then form your personalized daily habits and rituals that support this for the rest of your life. I'm not a quick fix kind of girl, don't get me wrong. I do transformational therapy, so it's quick. But when we're doing habits, as we know, it takes 66 days. So I want you to get real clear on what success and happiness looks like, but most importantly, feels like to you. Because when we begin to form these habits, the thing that you're going to know is what it feels like. That's how you're going to become familiar with this. Does that make sense? Any questions, obviously ask in the Facebook group or share below, like wherever it is that you're watching this. But if I'm honest, this course is going to be very open to you. There's no right and wrong. I will always give you the guiding directions, but write down whatever comes to your mind. Forget what society thinks. This is something that I'm so passionate about. Forget what society thinks. Do what's right for you. That's where I'm going to be supporting you to make this personalized for you. So I hope that this has been of most benefit for you. Absolutely take your time to do this, but you have got a week to complete this. Ideally, you get this done as soon as. Why? Your reticular activating system is going to get to work immediately. So if you're thinking, well, I've got the rest of the week, how does this work? The tick sheet that is on the group page, I want you to every single day just tick it off. Get used to the habit of starting a habit. Okay, so your habit, the key habit that we're going to be doing over the next 66 days, yes, you're going to be forming new habits, but the biggest one is going to be committing to doing this program. So many of you I spoke to said, I just don't stick to programs. I do something for 30 days and I fall off the wagon. And I mean majority of people. So one of the biggest things, the biggest revolutions is actually going to be sticking to this for 66 days. And know that even on a day, let's say Friday, you might not be actually doing a particular thing, a particular habit, but just know that you doing this, getting clear in your mind what success and happiness is to you, your reticular activating system, your mind is going to be working in the background around these things. So just tick it off as you go. I promise you this will all make sense in the weeks to come. You'll be like, holy crap, this is like nothing I've ever done before. We're not going along with the typical society system. I promise you this works. So have a great rest of your evening, the rest of your day. And I look forward to catching you very soon on the page. So have a great rest of your day, guys, and see you very soon.